There are two types of stories in the Bible. One type of story is so you learn what to do. Another type of story is what you learn what not to do. And all of us have experiences like that in our lives. Some things we do and we learn what not to do, and some things we do and we learn what to do. I remember, for example, one time I liked this girl. I wanted to go out with her, and I was trying to find a way to ask her out on a date. So I was in the dorm in college, and I made a poster with her name, and I put glitter because girls like glitter, and I put it in the window, and she went by and waved, and I said, "All right, good, we're making progress." Then I sent her a note at Vespers, and she responded, and I asked her out. We went to the only place two people can eat for $10, which is what? Who said McDonald's? We're Spanish. Taco Bell is the answer. So we were in the middle of eating our burrito, and you can't eat a burrito with all the sour cream getting in your mouth. Vegans don't have to deal with that, but us normal people have to eat like sour cream and stuff. And her friends came in and looked at us. And just their eyes said everything. They said, "Well, what are you doing with this guy?" But I thought the night ended well. I gave her a kiss in the cheek at second base, and I took her to her room, and I said, "I have to go out with this girl again." And I said, on the second date, you had to bring a gift. So what was I going to bring? Because I was a college student. I mean, she was well-to-do, but I was a college student. I didn't have any money. I was a college student. So I saw an advertisement on TV for Jack in the Box. And it said that if you bought a combo, they would give you with the combo a teddy bear that said Jack in the Box. So I figured I ripped that tag. She'll never know. So I bought the combo. I threw out the patty because I'm a vegetarian. I drank the Coke because I'm balanced. And I got the little teddy bear and went to her dorm. And I said, "I'd like to ask you out again. Here's a gift." And I brought out the teddy bear and gave it to her. That girl and I today, we're married. We're married to other people. Not to each other. You guys were clapping because you thought no. That was the last date for us. So in life, you learn what to do and what not to do. We've been talking about fishing this week. Today, I'm going to teach you how not to fish. Okay, 3 things you must not do. If you have Twitter, or in other words, if you're under 40, it's like 3 of you here. Instead of texting on your phone, you can tweet the message. It's fine. Might as well do something productive with your time. In the Bible, there's a story about the prodigal son. It's a very familiar story. It's found in Luke chapter 15. And as we analyze that story tonight, we're going to take a look at the older brother and evangelism. And we're going to learn 3 things the older brother did not do. And we're going to relate that to our churches and our evangelism. 3 things the older brother did not do. Number 1. The first thing the older brother did not do, he did nothing to stop his brother from leaving. In this story, there is never an interaction between the older brother and the younger brother at any point. There's an interaction between the father and the younger brother, but there's never an interaction between the older brother and the younger brother. In fact, he never calls him my brother. He always calls him your son. He did nothing to stop him from leaving. There is no conversations of him saying, "Please don't go. We're going to miss you. We love you. Life is better with you here. There are no conversations. All he wants is his part of the money, and that's it. In the Adventist church, there was a conference on retention about 6 months ago, and they found out that out of 100 people that we baptized, 43 leave. Now you tell me, in what other part of the world that is acceptable? For example, would you go eat at a restaurant that out of 100 meals, 43 give you diarrhea? Would you fly in an airplane on an airline that out of 100 planes, 43 fall down? Would you go to a hospital that out of 100 people they treat, 43 die? I mean, would you go to a mechanic that out of 100 cars he fixes, 43 end up on the shop again? This is only acceptable in the church. We lose almost half of the people that join the church, and most of them don't leave because of doctrinal reasons. Most of them don't leave because they have issues with the Sabbath and issues with our doctrines. Most of them leave because of us. We've seen the enemy, and the enemy is us. We are the ones that don't have time for them. Where is their life? I have enough problems in my own life to care about them. We bring them in. I mean, remember when you had your first kid and you brought him home the first time? You don't come to that little kid and put him in the bassinet and in the playpen and say, all right, here you go. Food's right there. The bath's right over there. The TV's over there. If you need me, holler. I mean, we take care of our kids. When somebody gets baptized, we just don't leave them. I think the issue with evangelism is we just see it as an event. We throw out a bunch of flyers and we have the mailman do our job, and then people come in we've never met before. They go for a month, they join the church, and after the month is over, they say, oh, glad that's over, another 5 years, and people end up leaving. And then you blame evangelism. See, evangelism doesn't work. It's not evangelism that doesn't work, it's us. The first thing that prodigal son brother did not do is that he did not stop his brother from leaving. Here's a couple of quotes that I want to share with you. Imagine a world where unbelievers were critical of what we believed, but envious of how well we treated one another. The issue with the other brother can be found out in this text. Note specifically the last line in the text. When the older brother is having a conversation with his father, he says to him, he answered his father, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobey your orders, yet you never gave me a young goat so I could celebrate. What does that 3 last words say? Say it aloud so I know you're with me. With what? With my friends. It's about me. It's about my needs. It's about my taste in music. It's about my preferences. It's about me. Church is not about you. We don't exist for you. We exist for them, for the people that God misses the most. Sometimes churches, not yours because yours is perfect, but churches have become ingrown. And an ingrown church, like an ingrown toenail, is an irritation at first, but eventually becomes unbearable. It's FUBU church. For us, by us, with us, and at the end, it's just us. It's my church, and it's me. I have a friend who's a pastor in a church. This church is 90 people. The problem with this church, it's been 90 people for the last 20 years, but every year they baptize 20. Now, how you figure that every year you baptize 20 people, but at the end of 20 years, you still have 90 people? So he started to pastor this church, and they did a Christmas program. And in the Christmas program, they invited the community. 175 people came from the community. 175 guests came from the community. Second year, the same thing. 175 guests came from the community. Third year, the board sat him down and said, Pastor, we've had a community banquet 3 years in a row. When are you going to do a banquet for us? When are you going to do something for us? See, the church doesn't open its doors to please you and to help you. It's for them. They are, in the United States, 79 million millennials. Those are kids from 16 to 28. Most of them don't go to any church, and we're fighting about veganism. Kids don't fight. Kids just leave. The first problem with the prodigal son's brother is that he did not do anything to stop him from leaving. The problem with the church is not that we're not friendly. The problem is that we're friendly with ourselves. Church is over, service is over, we get up and we gravitate to our friends, to our circle, to the ones we hang out. Meanwhile, the guests that are there that morning, if they're guests, just look around lost. My wife, my daughter, and my sister-in-law were driving from Virginia to Oregon. So they rented a U-Haul, 18-foot U-Haul with a car in tow. I told them it was a crazy idea, but my wife's Puerto Rican and she does whatever she wants. Don't judge me. Your wife is like that too. So here they're traveling, 3 women with an 18-foot U-Haul and a car in tow, driving cross country. On the Sabbath, they were not going to travel. And they saw on the map where they were going to go, and they picked out a church that we're going to attend that Sabbath morning. It's a pretty large size church in the state of beep. They got there Sabbath morning. They were greeted at the door. And it's the last time they were greeted. They were greeted at the door by that deacon. You know that deacon who's been baptized in vinegar, doesn't like his job, but can't really say no. So he's just, happy Sabbath, happy Sabbath, happy Sabbath, happy Sabbath. I hate my life. What am I doing here? Happy Sabbath, happy Sabbath, happy Sabbath. All service long, they prayed, they sang, they gave, were greeted one time when they went in the door. Church service was over. Everybody looked at them. Some people even give them dirty looks because of that huge 18-foot U-Haul. I mean, there's nothing that says we're not from here. More than a 18-foot U-Haul with a car in tow. The problem is not that we're not friendly. We're friendly. Every church thinks they're friendly. But we're friendly with ourselves. It's become ingrown. It's about my needs and my desires. Calling the pastor to do all kinds of things. The pastor is not there to take care of you. At some point, you're going to have to take care of yourself. You can't depend on the pastor for your spiritual life. You have to depend on Jesus. I don't hear an amen, but that's fine. It's okay. It's okay. We'll become acquainted in a little bit. All right. First thing, let's see if we remember. First thing that the prodigal son's brother did not do was what? The first thing did not stop him from leaving. Okay? We'll fight for you, not against you. Number 2, second thing the prodigal son brother did not do, he did not search for him when he was gone. The older brother knew what the prodigal son was doing with very specific details, yet made no attempt to go get him. Now, here's him describing what his brother was doing. Look at the detail, okay? When this son of yours who has squandered your property with prostitutes comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him. How did he know he had issues with sex and money? How did he know that he was sleeping with prostitutes? How did he know what type of lifestyle he was living in an age with no Facebook? How did he know what he was up to? I mean, the Bible says he went in a faraway land. How does he know all his brother was doing with no text messages and no Instagram and no cell phones and no video recorders and no telephones and no fax machines and no internet and no emails? How does he know with such level of specificity that his brother was living wrong? How does he know? He probably saw him. It's easier for us to stand back and judge the ones that are in the pig pen. It's easier for us to stand back and shake our heads and, oh, wow, I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they divorced like that. I can't believe they let their kids do that. I can't believe they're living like that. And we're looking from afar. It's much harder to get in the pig pen and rescue the sinners. But we seem to forget that was one time us, and God rescued us. And God now says, listen, you are not holier than them. Both the prodigal son and the prodigal son's brother both needed to be saved by grace. So grace is not for just the pig pen. Grace is for me too. It's for the younger brother and it's for the older brother. How do I know that? Notice this text. Notice this text. Meanwhile, the older brother was in the field, and when he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. Let me explain something to you. Here's a little theology. The younger brother was far from the home, but the older brother was far too. He wasn't as far, but he was far enough. So grace in this story is not just for the pig pen, it's for the older one. Grace is not just for the one that drinks, it's for the one that's never drunk one time in his life. Grace is not just for the one that smokes dope, it's for the one that's never put a drug in their body. Grace is for the leader of the Pathfinder Club and for the one that goes to the clubs every Saturday night. Grace is for the one that's been married for 45 years and for the one that's been on this third marriage and the one they're living with right now is not their wife or husband. Grace is not just for the bad people, it's for all of us, because all of us are sinners and have fallen short of the glory of God. Take care of that amnesia, because you remember sometimes what you used to be and where God brought you from. Sometimes we seem to forget very conveniently how our life used to be. And God, how he rescued us from there. And now that we're on the other side, judge the ones that are on the way. Can't do that. The older brother looked at his younger brother with judgment. Let me explain this to you and break it down even further. If I took everybody here and we loaded up in buses and we drove to the coast of Georgia, and I said to you, all right, everybody in the water, in order for you to go to heaven, you have to swim from the coast of Georgia to Cuba. Get in the water. Some of you would swim for 10 miles and drown. Some of you will swim for 2 miles and drown. Some of you would swim for 1 mile and drown. Some of you would drown just looking at the water. At the end of the day, All of us drown. I take no pride in looking at another swimmer and saying, well, I drowned, but at least I swam 5 miles. Look at him. He only swam 5 feet. Because at the end of the day, we're all dead. The gospel, okay, the gospel is not that God takes a bad man and makes him better. The gospel is that God takes a dead man and makes him come alive. That is the gospel. He doesn't. God is not into self-improvement. Dead bodies can't rise. Dead bodies can't obey. If it wasn't for God's grace, where would we be? So don't sit back and look at the ones that God misses the most. Because, I'm just going to say it. I think one of the things that every church needs to grapple with is this question. What level of lostness are you comfortable with? Because every church says we want to reach the lost. What level of lostness are you comfortable with? What if 30 gang members showed up to your church? What if 30 homosexuals showed up to your church? I mean, what level of lostness are you comfortable with? Everybody says they want to reach the lost until they show up. And then they find out that the lost don't look like us, or eat like us, or smell like us, or live like us. They're lost. See, we want lost people to join our churches that look very, very alike. Those are not lost people. They're like just like us. You have to understand something. My job as a Christian is not to judge you, is to expose you to the life giver so he can resurrect you. I must love you where you are. I have a brother who's an agnostic. He was raised a pastor's kid. Now he's out of the church. My heart bleeds for him. I pray for him every day. We're very different, but I love him. I mean, we're as different as night and day. He's a Redskins fan. I'm a Cowboys fan. He is an agnostic. I am a pastor. He's a Republican. I am a Christian. I mean, we're like different. You were going good till you said that. It's really, I mean, we don't agree in much, in almost nothing. But one thing I want my brother to know, I don't have to agree with you or your lifestyle to love you. I want to live to the day where I see my brother coming back to church. And I am hoping for churches in the Southern Union that wake up on Sabbath morning thinking, today is not about us. It's not about my parking spot and my position. Today is not about the seat that I sit in church every day. Today is about them. And are expectantly waiting for people to show up that are far from God. If you see this story, one thing is clear in this story. The return of the prodigal son did not take the father by surprise. He was expecting him. He had the party ready. He had the fattened calf. It's a veggie calf. Only ate veggie grass. He had the ring ready. He had the robe ready. All he needed was his son to come back. I know I'm speaking to some people today here that have their kids that have left the church. I claim that promise from the Bible for you and for me, that God is going to save our kids. But we have to create churches because in your community there are kids from somebody else that are lost that God is going to bring to you so you can love them into the kingdom. Number three. The third thing that the older brother did not do is that he was not happy when his brother came back. Number one, he did nothing to stop him. Number two, he did not search for him when he was gone. And number three, he was not happy when he came back. In fact, this is how the Bible describes it. It says the older brother became what? Angry. And refused to go in. Became angry. Why would he be angry? Why would he be angry at the fact that his brother is home? I mean, think about your own life. If you have a kid that's far away from church, and Sabbath morning he calls you and says, Mom, I'm coming to church. Wouldn't that create happiness in your heart? If you have a relative who's not attending church, is far from God, and all of a sudden says, hey, I'm back, wouldn't you receive those people with love and happiness and joy instead of anger? Why is he upset? The older brother reflects an entitlement mentality that some of us have. And we believe people that come from outside are intruders, not welcome guests. And sometimes we hold to our positions in church office. And especially when we have our identities wrapped around our positions. And we think that our identity and our position is the same thing. You can serve God whether you have an appointed position or not. Whether some nominating committee says you're an elder or not. I remember one time I had a brother from the church say, Pastor, I'm a deacon now, but eventually I want to become a head deacon, and then I want to become an elder, and then I want to become a head elder. He didn't say he was going to become a pastor because I was there, but I know that's what he was thinking. He saw church as layers. That's the business world. In church, we are servants. So if somebody nominates me or not, it's fine. I'm not in church because of the position. I don't become angry with intruders. I don't become angry with people that come into the church. I am happy they're there because my church exists to reach the ones that God misses the most. Why would I be angry? The reason is we made church in our image. We have to stop making up rules that are not in the Bible. For example, there are no levels of spirituality based on diet in the Bible. There are no okay, here are the meat eaters, they're going to be living in the ghetto in heaven, and then over them, they're going to be like the vegetarians, they're going to be living like in townhouses in heaven, and then over here are the vegans who are going to be living like in single houses in heaven, and over there on top of them are the raw people that are going to be living like in the mansions, and on top of them is our air eater. Well, I mean, what? You cannot raise everything to the same level. There are basic principles. And I want to be as holy as Jesus, but not any holier. I don't want to see, I'm a vegetarian. In fact, this year I became a vegan. Stop eating cheese. Okay? Good for me. Makes me healthier, not holier. I want to, what took me so many years to become a vegan? You know what was the biggest obstacle for me becoming a vegan? Vegans. Shouldn't a vegetarian and vegan lifestyle make you happier? Right? You don't have all those toxins in you and all that meat and all that thing. I mean, you shouldn't it makes you healthier. Shouldn't it also make you happier? Shouldn't you walk around with a smile on your face? Shouldn't you walk around like you haven't been baptized in vinegar? Shouldn't you walk around like the food police? I mean, let's make vegetarianism and our health message attractive to the world. We have this message way before it became cool. Now it's cool. Now everybody's a vegan. Even presidents and ex-presidents and Michael Jackson, well, that's not a good example because he's dead. He moonwalked all the way to the tomb. So, see, it should make us happier. See, if you are following the Adventist message, it should make you a healthy, balanced, loving, happy person. Do me a favor. Smile to the person next to you. I know you don't have 2 teeth, but go ahead. Smile. Say hi. See how it changes? There are some people, I know, not in your church, of course, but there are some people I know that want to eat meat but can't. And since they don't want, they know, and everybody can't eat meat because I can't eat meat. There's some of the most spiritual thing that person can do is eat a piece of chicken because you're not going to go to heaven like that. We can't raise to the level of principle everything we have a preference for. Because when you live your life based on lists, the problem is they keep changing the lists. The Wedgwood Trio is sin. Then it became cool. Then it became like, who are they? And now it became cool again. I mean, beards were sinful until they became like good, until they became like nobody cares. I mean, you live your life based on the gospel and on the principles of the Bible and the spirit of prophecy. Live it for yourself and make it so attractive that somebody says, wow, I want what that guy has. The prodigal son's brother made 3 mistakes. We want our churches to grow. We have to, number 1, make every attempt to keep them. Number 2, if they leave, go and get them. And number 3, when they return, throw a party. Here's a quote, because some of you don't believe unless she says it. Here's a quote. Testimonies, Volume 6. This is one of my favorite quotes. The Lord wants his people to follow other methods than that of condemning wrong, even though the condemnation be just. He wants us to do something more than hurl at our adversaries charges that only drive them further from the truth. The work which Christ came to do in our world was not to erect barriers and constantly thrust upon the people the fact that they were wrong. Nobody ever changed their mind because they lost an argument. We attract people with our lifestyle and our characters that should reflect the character of God. I don't know when my brother is going to return. I don't know if he is going to return. But I'm hoping and I'm praying that one day he's going to walk in the church and the person that greets him is going to tell him, hey, everything we're doing today is to reach people like you. I want to have a prayer this evening. I sense in my heart that maybe there might be some people here that have struggled with their relationship with Christ. Maybe because of issues with your relationships with other followers of Christ. And maybe you have been hurt by the church. First of all, don't equate the church and God. Church is full of imperfect people, sinful people. That's why they're in church. God is loving and powerful. And maybe there are some people here tonight that are just struggling with their relationship with God, struggling, trying to find their identity and their place in the church, struggling because of what happened to one of your kids, or what happened after your divorce, or what happened with the person over there that had good intentions but really hurt you, and you're here tonight. And I don't know if there might be 1 or 20 or 15 or 3, but as I was preparing this message and looking over the message, I felt in my spirit, I felt in my heart that I should pray for people that have just gone through a hard time spiritually because of issues with other Christians. I want to pray for you. I want to minister to you. And when I ask the Holy Spirit to heal you so you can return to your churches being people that welcome, express, and give out love that you have. Hurt people hurt people.